Hey guys, welcome to how to make a great design in 1 minute, which is bullshit. You can't make a great design in 1 minute. It was just clickbait to get you guys in to see how to make, a great design. It is essentially, I've come up with 11 rules in a way, which I wouldn't call them rules, just pointers on how to make a great design. And the first one is silhouette. So with silhouette, you want to make that kind of negative and positive space of a design. You want to be able to have some sort of really interesting silhouette from a distance. And so when you come closer to it, it's just going to work in that way where you're not too close to it. If you're too close to something, you really can't see how it looks from a distance. So when you do work on your design, just zoom out every now and again and check out the silhouette. Try different backgrounds. You could do a black background, and you can just see how good that silhouette goes. And sometimes you're not always going to get a great silhouette for every design. Every design will be a little bit different. I think with this one, it's kind of like a really big bulky one. It's not really intended to have a really obvious silhouette where it kind of really pops out or anything like that. But that's just one of the pointers to really making a great design is to make sure you focus on silhouette. I guess with this light coming out, it kind of makes it more interesting light. With this design, it's really bulky and big. So the next one will be simplicity for reading a design. So try and focus on getting your design to be somewhat simple in how it reads, but if you want to add more detail, make sure you maintain that simplicity for reading the design. So you're not overwhelming the viewer. You have open areas where I'm guilty of adding too much detail to things. You want to be able to get a design to read to make sense, right? Like when you're looking at it, you're kind of like breaking down each area of it where you can kind of digest it. There's a lot of people doing things that like more detail, the better. I'm really guilty of it. I think everyone's guilty of it. You can get really too detail happy in the way. I guess you get it's almost like you get too focused on the details and you get trying to get them right, and so what happens is you just end up detailing there and detailing there. It's almost like an obsessive compulsive thing that you kind of get into. Like this was a design that I think I did definitely detail sections of it too much, like the backpack here, the back area, and I guess I was really focused on trying to get this really intricate shape that it was very more of a challenging thing for me, right? So, and that's why I detailed this one way too much. But it was more of a challenge of like, how clean can I get it in Dynamesh, and I got it really damn clean. So, and it was just the practice of if I practiced this technique of trying to get something really clean, it would open up new techniques for me. So there's another reason why I did it. But yeah, that's one of those rules. Try not to detail too much. That was simplicity for reading design. This one follows into don't detail too much, and so this is an example of it. The simplicity of reading a design and don't detail too much are very much the two, right? So this would be one that I know with color you can make it read better, but still it doesn't read as well as it should. So there's an example of trying to, get something that is not, just everything that you can think of that is cool and chucking it on there, because that one was, right? This one, the latest, the Juggernaut unit that I'm working on, I'm trying to really space out the details as much as possible. So you can see with this one, it's definitely cleaner, right? It reads better, and so that's with that thing, don't detail too much. This one is very much simplicity for certain designs, silhouette, and it all plays into that those two things that I was talking about before, even the three things, because I was very much wanting to show an example of my work, because this is how I work, so these are the rules for me, right? So the next one is brainstorm ideas. You don't even have to write it down. You can actually brainstorm on your design. So with this one, I knew that say this hook here, that it's like a hook when you can kind of like hook onto it, and it can be lowered into areas and things like that, and it would hang a bit funny, but who cares? Just want to get down, and I'm like on that thing of where I'm trying to have a bit of asymmetry and this side is needed for something else. So I try and tie things with a bit of style and a bit of ludicrousness. And so it's a bit of the two. And so I try and do, the fun things and the serious and mix them 50-50, because when you have a seriousness, too much seriousness to the design, the fun goes out the window. So you want a bit of that ludicrousness in the design also. So that's with brainstorming ideas, how, what's the purpose for the design, what situation it's going to be in, does it need to be weatherproof? All these things are like brainstorming ideas, and this is what you should be doing for the design, even if it's very, very minimal, just do it anyway. So the next one is evolve the design and the ideas around it. Don't be afraid of evolving your original idea early in the concepting stage, where these changes can be done more easier. You can grow a somewhat bland and boring design. It's one of those things where you can start with a bland design and make it great. It does happen. Usually some designs like start off like this. So don't be afraid, to evolve it and change the purpose of where it started into a better one. And a lot of ideas start like that. So next one is like number 6. So don't detail too soon. That's it's an interesting one, right? So don't go head first into detailing. When you're early on in your concepting, this will just create more work for yourself. So you also corner yourself into certain ideas and certain shapes you might not like later in your design. So in this design, since you're essentially trying to get your design to run before it learns to walk, if that makes sense. So you're trying to dive head first and get all these designs in, and you just need to pace yourself, learn to walk before you run type of thing, and just slowly ramp up. Don't dive in. Just don't do it. You'll get cornered in some ways and you'll regret it. So all right, so the next one is shape, flow, and design language. Figure out what type of flow you want from your design. If you like it to be more square and round, or maybe a combination of the two. Also, from the start, figure out what design language you want in the design. Essentially, you want to show, like, if it's square or round, if it's boxy in that way where it shows strength, or if it's round, it shows like this aerodynamicness. And so you want to come up with the shape and flow in that design language. If it's really rigid and strong and things like that, you want to make sure you get those down earlier, because it has to have a certain language attached to how that is. And so you can see with this one, it's really like a boxy one. It's like, but it's really strong at the same time, really big paneling, thicker metals and things like that. So that's what I try and get early on, try and make sure I have a good sense of that. And so let's say this design's here. This is going to be like a just simple vest, and it's got materials and things like that. So I have an understanding it has little bits of metals attached to it. So you try and do those things early on and make that design style for the shape and flow. So number 8 will be the purpose. What purpose your design is. What is it? What are you going to do with it? This one's a vest, right? So it's kind of like, well, this was made for certain gang members and things like that for a movie, and they repurposed vests and things like that. So it has a purpose, and so you can do that. You can come up with a purpose for your design. It will help aid in the design. It very much flows into that brainstorming idea. So try and give your design purpose. Try and find something that, like you look at it and you think, well, this one's a helmet. It's like meant to be worn and meant to give certain abilities to the person wearing it. Things like good hearing, has sensors in the back, all things like that is purpose. So number 9, so put in the fucking work, right? So really practice and guess practice is, like the thing to do. Really do it again. It's hard, right? It's one of those things where you have to practice. If you don't do it, ultimately just you'll be frustrated at yourself when you think you can come in and do something, and you kind of have this really optimistic view on I can do this and you do that, and you just before you haven't practiced enough. And so it's one of those things. Just get in the practice, and just even if it hurts, just do it. Like even if it drains you, just do it. Just that's what my advice to you guys are. So number 10 is be confident in your work. So if you lack confidence, it will show, right? If you doubt yourself when you make things, it'll probably show. Like it's one of those things where there's a sense of confidence when you approach something, and it's not almost like it's a sense of practice also. But if you're not confident with the ideas of your design, you should probably abandon them, do something else, because you're probably trying to push an idea that it won't go anywhere. And so just give up on that one. But that's just saying in general, be confident, because I guess you can make a bad idea work, but it's one of those explaining emotions and how you feel about things is really complicated, right? But try and be confident when you approach design. If you're not confident about it, just abandon it, go on to something else. Let me see if I've got one there where I've done plenty of things where I've tried to go full confidence, gung-ho into a design, and no matter what I've done, I couldn't get it to work. And with you go, well, just go push through it. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and you might not have enough confidence then to do it. Maybe you come back to it, and maybe this is a design where I'll tell you the backstory. So essentially, I wanted to design something with no eyes and to have this kind of like a skull look to it. And for the life of me, I couldn't get this really intricate design to work with a lot of flow and shape. And then I tried taking shape out, and it becomes weird, and just I couldn't get it. I don't know. Either I wasn't confident with the design, I found it too complicated for that time I was approaching it, and so it's one of those things where I think this is probably design that I might come back to when I'm more confident with learning different design language and pushing things. It's like trying to learn a different language, essentially. If you can't speak another language, you can't speak it, and you're probably not going to be confident to talk to someone about it. And so using that language. So it's one of those things where I tried to push a different design language for myself, and I couldn't do it. So the confidence in doing a design, I guess I've kind of gone off track with it, but when you do approach a design, if you're not confident with it, like this one, you probably just won't finish it. I just haven't finished this one. I'm not sure if I can ever come back to it, and I might come back to it. Who knows? It's really tricky design to get right. So the last one is perfect the imperfections. I guess, conclude yourself to where you need to pull back on your perfection for your design. So you can perfect the design, but is it worth it? You need to decide where you what I'm trying to see what I've typed here, but where you take your design. So I'm not sure if that makes sense, but essentially you need to conclude where you need to end a design. You need to decide where the perfect is imperfect, and leaving something essentially imperfect but feeling perfect about it almost, and convincing yourself that this design is perfect almost. You kind of have to let go of things, imperfections and all these things like that, trying to get things perfect, because ultimately probably no one else will care. No one else will see it, and the level of perfection that you're going to try and hit is really just you in your own head and how you perceive something to be perfect on a design. And so you just have to leave things, and you kind of have that gut instinct of am I slacking off? Am I leaving it in, just leaving it at that kind of imperfection point of perfection for other people? And it's an odd one. It's a weird one, right? Because other people are like, well, that's perfect enough, and that's it. And so, because you can really drive yourself nuts trying to get something perfect, trust me. And you just have to learn to give up to a certain degree that kind of perfection, because it will drive you nuts. It's just one of those things where you have to learn to balance the two, and you'll figure it out eventually when you've done a lot of work and you've tried to perfect things, and you realize that no one ever really gave a shit as much as you did. So yeah, I'll conclude on that. And yeah, I hope this helps you guys, and you get something out of it. And until next time, guys, all take care, like and subscribe, and I'll try and get more of this content out. It's very much winged and gibberish and jabberish and whatever. But yeah, all right. Take care, guys. Until next time.